This week started in Dublin, Ireland, and it ended in a thrilling tie between the Cowboys and the Packers. Debuts of big quarterbacks, insane plays throughout, and we had a lot of fun today. Let's recap week 4 in the NFL season. The world's a better place because you are here to join us, and my name is Matt Brown, and I am the host of the Productive Conversations podcast. And yeah, let's talk about week 4 in the NFL. Let's go through each and every single one of these games, make picks for Monday Night Football, and start the week off right. And before we do all of that, again, I just want to remind you to like and subscribe to the Productive Conversations podcast on all podcasting platforms and YouTube. And don't forget to check out exclusive content regarding this show across all social media platforms. We're on Instagram at Productive Conversations Podcast, X and Twitter at ProdCobblePod. We're on TikTok at Productive Conversations and Facebook at Productive Conversations. And always, don't you forget to check out our presenting sponsor, Magic Mind, the world's first productivity shot to help you do more and stress less. If you're like me, who is working hard, who has bills to pay, who has to go to work, who has to podcast to the greatest fans listeners in the world, I'm also trying to be healthy and be social and do whatever I need to do to live a fulfilling life. And the secret ingredient to help me feel more calm, more focused, not have a foggy brain is Magic Mind. Go to magicmind.com/PCJune to check out the great benefits that I've been receiving. And this green tea shot filled with nootropics, matcha, and other signature ingredients to help you do more and stress less, that is the way to go. So go to magicmind.com/PCJune for 48% off your first subscription or 20% off your first one-time purchase. That is magicmind.com/PCJune for 48% off your first subscription or 20% off your first one-time purchase. Magic Mind, reclaim your brain. So like I said, we're already in week 4 of the NFL. It was a great week indeed. We had our first, I guess now UK game, not a London game, UK game, and people had great plays. You saw us do some great debuts. You saw a really good tie, and let's talk all about it. So let's begin our conversation, our productive conversation on week 4 of the NFL. So the Packers and the Cowboys. I expected a high scoring affair. In fact, I hit a same game parlay tonight. Good for me, huh? And thank God for Micah Parsons' sack in overtime to seal the deal and seal that parlay at plus 1469. So good stuff there. But yeah, the game ended in a 40-40 tie. The game ended in a 40-40 tie in overtime. Very rare. The Packers grabbed early momentum. They were scoring a lot before the half. Then the Cowboys stormed back, especially late in the second half, with several lead changes throughout. And in overtime, both teams kicked field goals. The Packers got a final drive. Oh, man. And that lob where the ball literally fell in the end zone at literally a second left. And then we had McManus kick the game time field goal there. And that, a tie. So we're going to see two teams with 3 numbers in their record so far this season. But I mean, what were the key performers in the offense? Jordan Love had multiple touchdown passes, including at least 3, count them, 3 touchdowns to Romeo Doubs. Josh Jacobs contributed, once again continues his touchdown streak. Then we had Josh Jacobs contribute with the rushing score for Green Bay. He did well. Offense, there was a lot of pressure for Jordan Love throughout. And for Dallas, I mean, Dak Prescott looked awesome. He looked great with his feet. Without CeeDee Lamb, he was getting the ball deep to downfield. He was able to get the ball deep downfield for people like Tolbert, and he was able to put the Cowboys in the right position. It was just the defense that was being a letdown, as everybody knows in the early part of the season, the Dallas Cowboys defense is not a good one since Micah Parsons left. And though he didn't do much and he was out for the game, I think he only had 3 tackles and a sack. It showed that the Packers defense declined a little bit. They allowed a number of big plays, especially through the air. And the Cowboys too struggled with pass defense, and they were given a big explosive plays. And then the special teams was all over the place as well, with from blocked extra points, which clearly was a big difference. If they literally made that 1 point after, the Packers would win this game. And then there was a block kick return and all of that stuff, right? But ultimately, this game showed that both teams can come back even under pressure. The multiple lead changes show that both teams are resilient, and they were both able to do amazing 2-minute drills in the fourth quarter to get their teams to score and get the game, well, to continue. And ultimately, it came down to turnovers and sloppy special teams play. And yeah, both teams either won or both teams lost, if depending how cynical you are. But at the end of the day, it's a tie. Tie's a tie. We'll see how that affects both teams when we're closer to playoff time. But ultimately, it was pretty entertaining for the most part. Dak Prescott pretty much shows he still, I think he's still got plenty left in the tank. Just keep him protected, and he will show his arm. And maybe he should just run the ball more, rush more, and get his team in better position to win. But yeah, the both defenses really let each other's teams down. But ultimately, it ended in a tie, and that's what we have. Obviously, I'm a big Giants fan, and obviously, we have a lot of things to celebrate. The Giants won a game. They won at home. They beat an undefeated Chargers team with a great defense. And we'll always remember September 28th, 2025 as the day that Jackson Start had his first start in the NFL. Giants got their first win of the season, and they beat the unbeaten Chargers by a score of 21-18. Jackson Dart, in his first NFL start, that amazing first drive that included a 15-yard rushing touchdown, and he ultimately ended with 111 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 54 rushing yards. Cam Scatterboo continues to be a big favorite for the Giant fan. Cam Scatterboo with another stellar game on the ground, 79 rushing yards, being a dog, blocking, doing those backflips. Just be careful with that MetLife turf, because despite the great things we saw, Malik Neighbors is out with a torn ACL. Damn it. Just when you thought it was good. But yeah, another person who fell to the MetLife turf. Oh my God. That's disappointing. Really, really disappointing. While I do think this is a year to test things out because the Giants have a tough schedule, it still stinks to not have Malik Neighbors. And after the concussion last year, now the torn ACL this year, I don't know, is he injury prone? Maybe it's too early to tell. Clearly he shows that he has a lot of talent, and hopefully the Dart and Neighbors connection will be one that we see for many years to come. But time will tell there. And ultimately, it was a great day for the Giants offense. And defensively, they did well too. They only allowed 18 points. 18 points, that's it, against a really good Chargers offense with Justin Herbert. Including with that Chargers offense, Amari and Hampton ran 12 times for 128 yards and a touchdown. But Herbert had a rough day. From throwing interceptions to Sexy Dexy to getting sacked by Brian Burns to being pressured all day in general. He went 23 for 41, 203 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, and was sacked a couple of times. But yeah, Drew Phillips continuing to excite us, growing to be one of the best defensive backs in the NFL. He got a big interception and it returned it. And we got Drew Phillips with a big interception, making us happy. Clearly growing to be one of the best defensive backs in the NFL. And as I said, Sexy Dexy's interception as well. You'll love to see it. But yeah, even though unfortunately the Giants lost Malik Neighbors, ultimately this was a great day to be a Giants fan. As you know, it's been such a struggle for a long time, and things seem to not work. But ultimately today with a great running game in Cam Scatterboo, a very impressive start from Jackson Dart. Just get more yard, just get more than, oh sorry, Jackson Dart just get more than 111 yards. Cam Scatterboo showing the dog he is. I mean, Theo Johnson had a great game. Jackson Dart was getting protected once again, thanks to Andrew Thomas being there. See how important it is to have Andrew Thomas on that line. And then the Giants defense kicking ass and taking name. Great day. Really, really great day for the Giants. Great win. Very, very happy. So let's talk about that Dublin game, right? The Dublin game. The Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings. Classic matchup between two classic teams. Pittsburgh is now 3-1. Minnesota dropped down to 2-2. With no James Warren, and I really wish I wasn't asleep when they scratched him at 8 in the morning, because I started him in fantasy and I zero from running back 2. But Kenneth Gainwell came in and had 99 yards. 99 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers really efficient, going 18 for 22 with 200 yards and a touchdown. And that beautiful 80-yard touchdown to DK Metcalf. That should excite you, right? Then for the Vikings themselves, still no J.J. McCarthy. Carson Wentz comes in again, despite 350 yards in the air and 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and was sacked 6 times. 6 times. Nasty work there. But, I mean, Isaiah Rodgers, once again with another big game, a big play on defense with that blocked field goal late in the game. But ultimately was a close game throughout. He just could not go down the field for the 2-minute drill, and Pittsburgh stays alive. And also the Steelers defense, with a lot of expectations, they stepped up when they needed to as well. Good stuff. Steelers and Vikings. All right, great game. Great game. The Commanders and the Falcons. No Marcus Mariota. Sorry, no Jaden Daniels again. Marcus Mariota has the start. Michael Penix Jr. is in. Both teams could use his victory. Michael Penix Jr., with all the great weapons he has, so far the best game of his career. Very short career, but good, a really great start. 20 for 26, 310 yards and 2 touchdowns. You'll take that. Bijan Robinson with a huge game. 106 receiving yards on 4 catches, 75 rushing yards, and a touchdown for Bijan. And then big contributions from Mahoney and Drake London. 8 catches, 110 yards for him. And Marcus Mariota, despite a really good game against New Orleans, was only okay against the Falcons in what could have been a revenge game, but came up short with it, as he only had 156 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he had an interception. But Washington stayed competitive with 4 field goals by Matt Gay, showing how reliable he has soon become. And then a late touchdown and a 2-point conversion on a Mariota to Debo play. They did try to storm back, but ultimately they just couldn't pull off the comeback. Clearly outgaining yardage from Atlanta. It was a very tough game for Washington defensively. I mean, they gave up 435 total yards. Can't win with that. So Commanders go down. They really need Daniel Jones. They really need Jaden Daniels to come back. Eagles and Bucs. These Eagle games know how to, make you sweat. Okay. So Eagles still are undefeated. Now they're 3-0. And it looked like for a second, maybe, it was a tale of 2 halves. Jalen Hurts was great in the first half and didn't do a thing in the second half. While Tampa made some big plays and tried to make a comeback with Baker Mayfield, ultimately they just couldn't close at the end of the day. And they were so close to doing it. And it seems like this Bucs team, this in the Baker Mayfield era, loves to keep games close and try to make comebacks, but they just ran out of time this time. And They just couldn't overcome them, sadly. And even in another breakout performance from Emike Ubuka, show being another great Ohio State wide receiver, showing that he can ball in the NFL. 4 catches for 101 yards. They just couldn't. They just couldn't take care of it, and due to costly interceptions, bad special teams, and it was just too late. Ultimately, it was too late. So Eagles win again. Uh, the Bucs lose a heartbreaker. The Texans and the Titans. Yeah, before the game, or I should say, after the game, Cam Ward said, "If you want me to keep it a buck, we ask." And yeah, not a good start for the Titans whatsoever. 26-0 in this game between two teams that did not win a game yet. The 0-3 Texans and the 0-3 Tennessee Titans. And it was a shutout too. So good job from D'Amico Ryan there. Even CJ Stroud was efficient, 233 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. Woody Marks had a big game with plenty of receiving yards and rushing yards, and he scored both on the ground and in the air. The Titans only had 175 total yards, only 10 first downs, no red zone appearance whatsoever. They were manhandled by the Texans defense. A Cam Ward, again, really bad start. This is his worst one yet. Only 108 yards, was running for his life all game long, and just so many miscues. I mean, that is no doubt the worst offense in the league, and no doubt a terrible defense too. And before they might be another top 5 pick team. There might be another team that's picking the top 5 in the draft. I mean, the Texans were showing clear execution in the red zone. They just didn't make a lot of mistakes. And then the Titans made all the mistakes. The offense was clearly stagnant. Cam Ward is still trying to find his footing. The special teams, the kicking team faltered. The special teams faltered. And then there was just no drives. You were a sucker if you bet +7.5 for Tennessee. Bills and the Saints. Yeah, this game should not have been this close, even though the 14.5 point spread is a steep one. They should have kicked their ass today. New Orleans predictably lose once again, and Josh Allen 3 touchdowns with 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. The Bills just had so many. They had so many penalties, 11 in total. They gave up their first turnover of the season. They played so sloppy. And luckily, the Saints are such a mess that they could not hop on those mistakes that Buffalo was clearly giving them. Even though James Cook showed another great game on the ground, 117 rushing yards and a touchdown. The Saints cut the lead. They were keeping it close all game long. It was at 1.21-19. And Buffalo answered with a 27-yard run from Josh Allen. And then that touchdown pass to Dalton Kincaid sealed the deal. And then another field goal to add insurance. I mean, the Saints had some flashes. Spencer Rattler, even though a poor game, at only 126 yards and a touchdown. It was the running attack that was really productive, led by the great Alvin Kamara. Then the Saints at least will push you, right? And when they play the Giants on Sunday, I'm sure they might see it as a winnable game for them. So we'll have to see where that all folds and unlies, but you clearly can't take this team for granted, the New Orleans Saints. They kept it close. All these games were pretty much close except the Commanders one, so they got my respect. But the Bills, despite being sloppy, they did close strong. They balanced their offense, when with both the running game and passing game improved as the game went on, and they did respond under pressure, so you can be happy there. And the Saints with good rushing yards, at least Rattler was able to move in and out of trouble, but they kept creating turnovers, creating penalties, and they could not stop the Bills' offense, that defense. That's one thing that the Saints really, really struggle on. Lions and the Browns. Another great offensive showing for the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff. Amon-Ra St. Brown with a couple touchdowns. Khalif Raymond with that big 75-yard punt return for a touchdown. The special teams made an impact throughout. Jared Goff serviceable with 168 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Not as crazy as the week before, but still did what he had to do. And Jahmyr Gibbs with 91 rushing yards. Great offensive day. And the Browns just were turnovering the ball. And they didn't get anything going. And ultimately, their turnovers led to 17 points in total for the Lions. The Lions were kicking ass on defense. But strong special teams, they took advantage of the opponent's mistakes, kept the offense in check, and the defense forced turnovers and limited Cleveland to any success. And the Browns did not have any ball security whatsoever. Dumb fumbles. Couldn't build momentum. And I mean, the offense was one-dimensional. They could not do a thing. And the only question now is, okay, we're trying to figure ourselves out. Judkins might wind up being a great running back for us. Maybe our weapons could be better. Obviously, our defense will still be a problem. Is it too early to try one of the kids in Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders at quarterback? Time will tell, but we obviously know Joe Flacco won't be around much longer, but it's when the Browns will make headlines and go to Gabriel or Shedeur. Patriots and the Panthers. Patriots definitely could have used that. Though Carolina absolutely embarrassed Atlanta last week, well, it kind of felt like a typical Carolina Panthers game in the 2020s tonight. Or I should say, on Sunday afternoon. The special teams tied turn early. We had a big punt return from Marcus Jones that led to a touchdown. Drake May once again playing efficiently, 14 for 17, 203 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and ran in for one. Stephon Diggs finally had his breakout game as a Patriot, and despite being in headlines for Cardi B, the soon-to-be father had 101 rushing yards. 101 receiving yards. The soon-to-be father had 101 receiving yards. It's Stephon Diggs. And Henderson and Gibson ran in for a couple touchdowns for New England. And Carolina just never had any rhythm. Couldn't find any success. Failing on special teams. It was a mess. But well-rounded performances from the Patriots, both on offense, defense, and special teams. Drake May continuing to show poise. And the special teams really created a lot of momentum. As for the Panthers, they struggled to respond to as soon as the Patriots had a lead. Carolina could not get ready for them. Inefficient in passing, unable to prevent big plays on defense. I mean, they got depth issues and they couldn't make adjustments. And, well, Carolina still the mess of the NFL. What else is new? The Ravens and the Chiefs, right? Already a tough one. We lost Lamar Jackson. Who would have thought in the summer, you look at the schedule, that this matchup would be the 1-3 Chiefs versus the 1-3 Ravens? But that's how it is sometimes. Patrick Mahomes keeps getting better week after week. As I talked a couple weeks ago, he's going to be fine, even with a lack of weapons, even with one of his weapons returning, Xavier Worthy. But we saw a vintage Mahomes performance, 20 for 37, 270 yards, and 4 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. And, I mean, 4 different receivers caught a touchdown today. That's how you know. That's the Mahomes effect. And Lamar Jackson left the game early with a hamstring strain. Cooper Rush looked like a deer in the headlights. But yeah, Lamar only went with 14 for 20 with 147 yards and threw and created an interception. Quiet game for Derrick Henry as well. It was Justice Hill who had a big 71-yard touchdown late in the game. One of the few offensive plays, and he was the lead rusher. Justice Hill is the lead rusher, not Derrick Henry, and Henry's not hurt. That's when you have a problem. But people are really starting to notice how the Ravens are terrible on defense. They give up 37 points today. Just absolutely deprived, especially with the injuries they have. And then Kansas City forcing a couple turnovers themselves, and they sacked the quarterback 3 times. So yeah, the Chiefs it was all Chiefs today. The Ravens really need Lamar back, but they're having a tough time. Baltimore's having a tough time. Very, very tough time. Whether it's though Lamar, I mean, the running game's been okay, but the receivers have underachieved a bit, and it's though a bit, but I should take that back. They didn't underachieve. It's the Ravens that are really good on offense, and it's the Ravens defense that has been underachieving and just have no answers clearly. Who did not expect the Ravens to be 1-4 heading into October. The Jaguars and the 49ers, right? I feel the 49ers were have been able to get away with some games to start this season. I feel like the record there's I wouldn't be surprised if they were 1-3. They're still missing Kittle. Brock Purdy finally came back, and they've just been, though they've been handling it, they've been able to hold it for a little bit on defense. The offense is just an explosive right now, mainly because of injuries, but still. And what could Jacksonville do? They capitalized. That's what they did. They created turnovers. They had 4 turnovers against San Francisco. They created 4 turnovers. And Jacksonville scored 17 points off those turnovers as well. ATN had another great game on the ground, 124 rushing yards. The defense was very clutch. They pressured, dropped Purdy all log. Josh Allen Hyde had a great game. And San Francisco's offense, despite battling injuries, they really relied on Christian McCaffrey, and that was it. Juwan Jennings was banged up too. But Purdy's first game back, only 14 for 25 at 180 yards and a touchdown, and threw that pick. But we saw the first big play from Travis Hunter too. That has to excite you. The running game was great. Trevor Lawrence was poised, and a humongous win for their momentum. And then we had some beef on the sidelines between Liam Cohn and Robert Saleh, the defensive coordinator for the 49ers, and Cohn as the head coach of Jacksonville. I feel if Trevor Lawrence could just figure it out and even be better than he is, he's been okay. We thought he was the boy wonder. We thought that he was going to be a god, and he's only been okay in the NFL, despite a playoff win. And they're going to be in a good spot. Brian Thomas, one of the more underrated receivers in the game. ETN, you need to make sure that he could get the yardage he can, because he could be a game changer too. But ultimately, Jacksonville gets a very, very big win. The Colts and the Rams. One game I was very intrigued to see. Well, Colts get their first loss of the year. You know, I've been very high on the Rams, and if they could just figure it out on defense, they can run away with this, because I think people are starting to catch on that, wow, this offense is really good. Devontae Adams looks like he's 25 years old. Puka Nacua is just getting started. And if you need a first down, you go to Puka. And Kieran Williams is one of the best backs in the league. They know how to protect. And Matthew Stafford is still going to be okay. And when you only let the number one offense in terms of scoring score only 20 points, then you kind of show that you're legit when all things pan out. But in a big game at home, Matthew Stafford and the Rams win in a thriller that ended with an 88-yard touchdown to Tutu Atwell with under 2 minutes left in the game. But and then the Rams did have to come back, and then the touchdown before Stafford gets a big touchdown to tie the game at 20. And yeah, Puka Nacua, hear this: 13 receptions, 170 yards, and was the target during the comeback, and he was fine. Whether he was double teamed or just under immense pressure, he somehow, with separation or not, was able to make the catches he needed to. And Daniel Jones, despite 262 yards and going 24-33, 2 interceptions was not something you want to see. And yeah, the turnovers, we saw an old Daniel Jones performance. Not what you want to see, but Jonathan Taylor with 76 rushing yards. But the play everybody's going to remember is when they did have a big chance to take the lead. Adonai Mitchell was able to make the catch, break some tackles, and then right before he crosses the goal line, he can't secure the ball. It's out of his hands before he can walk in for a touchdown. That's a touchback. Huge, costly mistake. Clearly the turning point of the game. And yeah, you can't fumble the ball out of the end zone. Not good. Though a young player, he's not a rookie. You can't do that. So good stuff for Stafford and the Rams getting a big comeback and a big win after a tough loss last week to Philadelphia. Sad. Very sad. And also nobody noticed either that the Colts only had 10 players on the field during the Tutu Atwell play. Bad job on coaching. You got to see that. You got to make the challenge there and tell the booth to review it then. So, though sloppy at points, it was still a good game with Indianapolis losing to Los Angeles. They win the Rams win 27-20. The Bears and the Raiders, very, very close. Very, very close. Ultimately, the Bears pull off the victory. And they win, and the Bears win by a score of 25-24. 4 lead changes, and it came down to the wire. Chicago scored a big 2-yard touchdown run. Chicago scored a big 2-yard touchdown run by DeAndre Swift with 144. Excuse me. Chicago scored a big 2-yard touchdown that was run in by DeAndre Swift scored a touchdown for. I'm sorry. Chicago scored a go-ahead 2-yard touchdown run by DeAndre Swift with 1:34 remaining in the game. The Raiders responded with a late drive, had the chance for a game-winning field goal, and it was blocked. We keep seeing this a lot, clearly, both in the pros and college. A lot of blocked field goals, huh? Gee, I wonder why. But that sealed the deal. Daniel Carlson was ready to be a hero. Josh Blackwell thought otherwise. He gets the big block to seal the win for the Bears. Caleb Williams with 212 yards in the air and a touchdown. Roman Duze, really great with 4 catches for 169 yards and a touchdown. And while the Bears did force 4 turnovers, and Chicago's defense was a big factor. They had 4 turnovers, and with 3 interceptions alone, Geno Smith was very bad. Very, very bad. And there was also a fumble by the Raiders offense as well. Max Crosby, he had a big interception in the game. He was a standout performer in this one. He had multiple tackles for loss, big interception. He pressured the quarterback all game long. and plenty of pass deflections. But that wasn't enough. Ashton Genty had a great game as well on the ground. I feel his the best game for him so far. 240 total rushing yards for the Raiders. But yeah, Ashton Genty, 3 touchdowns, 50, 100. Ashton Genty was great. One of the bright spots. Running for 155 total scrimmage yards and 3 touchdowns. Bro was the man. And yeah, just the Raiders, if they didn't turn over the ball so much, who knows what would have happened in this game. And if they could have just played better on special teams, we'd have a different conversation, right? All right, good stuff there. And then why don't we hit up the last game, the Thursday night game, the Cardinals and the Seahawks? A game where people thought, "Oh man, maybe the Cards are cooked. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. is a bust." And at first, it did look like that. Seattle had a big lead. They were up by 14 heading late in the fourth quarter. Arizona did rally with 5 minutes 50 seconds left. Kyle Murray with a big 16-yard touchdown to cut the deficit. And then Seattle's kicker misses that big 53-yard field goal. And Murray runs down the field again with a big 2-minute drill and gets a big touchdown with 33 seconds left. And a critical kickoff infraction by Arizona, where the short kickoff that didn't meet, it was a short kickoff that didn't meet the requirements. But a bad kickoff infraction by Arizona placed Seattle at its own 40. And from there, Sam Darnold drove down the field with a big 22-yard touchdown pass from Jackson Smith Njigba, and that was a big play there. And Jason Myers with the 52-yard field goal to win it. So, costly special teams mistake, which was a problem throughout the entire week in the NFL, clearly, and that really hit hard in the Cardinals and Seahawks to set the tone for the week, right? But yeah, ultimately, Arizona did rally. I think they have it in them to be a better team, but they just have to figure themselves out. And though it was their first loss, I just I don't know. There's something missing. There's something missing, and the James Conner injury doesn't help either. Injuries are going to kill you in this league, as you know. But Cardinals are now 2-2. We'll see as the weeks go by how legit they are. Then the Seahawks with the big winning 3 of their first 4 games. Sam Darnold kind of picking up where he left off in Minnesota. I think the Seahawks are going to be a really good team moving forward. And let's just look at our Monday Night Football picks. We got 2 games happening. We got a double header for Monday. We could first look at the Jets and the Dolphins. One game everybody's excited for, right? Jets and Dolphins. Both 0-3. Both can really use this victory. And what's going to happen? The spread is -2.5 for the Dolphins. And as the Giants won their first game in week 4, I think the Jets will too. Give me the Jets plus 2.5. Heck, even take that money line. It's very close anyway. It's only plus 125 for the Jets. So not a huge underdog. But I think Miami's still trying to figure out what they're going to do on offense. Guess Darren Waller's going to have his season debut. Does he have anything left? And there's been flashes, but I just don't think the Miami offense is ready whatsoever. And the Jets have lost some nail biters, and I think they can bounce back and get a big win. Very much needed victory there. And then the Bengals and Broncos. So give me plus 2.5 for New York. And as for the Bengals and the Broncos, right? Bengals and Broncos, I'd have to say at -7.5 at home. Browning starting again for the Bengals. I see it going this way. I see the Broncos taking care of business, beating a Bengals defense that hasn't really been impressive. And after losing two horrible games in a row that came down to field goals, I think the Broncos will make sure this game isn't close whatsoever. They'll do nothing but scoring in the they'll do nothing but score in the second game of the doubleheader. And they will go back to 500. They'll be 2-2. The Bengals will be 2-2 as well. And maybe Jake Browning has a terrible game. The Broncos defense will be back to normal, being a dominant, pressure-filled defense that gives the Bengals a lot of problems. So let's see them do that. And then the Bengals will try to get a new quarterback, whomever that person is. Russell Wilson. All right, so that's what it'll be. Give me the Jets plus 2.5. Give me the Bengals minus 7.5. And that will complete our week 4 recap of the NFL season. We'll see you next week for week 5. And check out our week 5 recap of the college football season. That's available now on all podcasts and platforms and YouTube. And then if you like the sports, we're going to have a baseball preview. We are going to preview the postseason as playoff baseball begins on Tuesday. So this Tuesday, we will have a preview for the MLB season. And also this Tuesday, we will have a tweet cap as per usual. We'll recap the trending topics that happened over the weekend. Then also Tuesday with our baseball postseason preview. And then back on Friday, we will have another tweet cap recapping the biggest news stories and the trending topics for the week ahead. And then after every single playoff game between the Yankees and the Red Sox, it looks like for the wild card series, this is a good time to beat the Red Sox. This is a great time since 04 to beat them in a postseason series. So, and I expect that because I think the Yankees just have the better pitching. The Red Sox are rebuilding, and we have home field advantage, and that's going to help. And the Yankees are on an 8-game winning streak, and everything is clicking, including who should be MVP and Aaron Judge. But we'll talk all about that because we will have instant reactions to every Yankee playoff game like we did last year. So busy week ahead. So let's enjoy it. Be safe during it. And I'll see you throughout the week. Peace. Viva la revolution.